Hi people, welcome to Blue K Jazz Dance. This is my new wall. I'm just creating new ideas, talking about my legacy of leadership, and part of my legacy of leadership simply that I'm a community dance leader, a person who has been involved in my community, leading dance from a perspective of learning dance from my parents, learning it from home, learning it from my peers, my brothers, boom. And I want to talk about community dance. Simply what's happened has been community dance has been distorted, and community dance was distorted in communities from the day that dance became class. The whole idea of community dancing is supposed to be unpredictable. It's supposed to allow you choice to engage in dance or not, because community dance is about as much watching as doing, and it's important that people understand that. So I talk about community dance from the perspective of how I engaged in it. First, I created projects where young people came, we had DJs, and we just let them dance. We had people choreograph, and what we did, we had individuals that who I made leaders, dance leaders, community dance leaders. Their job was to support anybody in the room to develop their own dances. So we had a focus. The focus was a show for the community. And different age groups from 5 to 16 years old were in the same space, and older in the same space were dancing, because that's how community dance works. And what happened was, we just had the music on, people came there with dancers, they created dance groups themselves, they did everything themselves. I supported them with a team of individuals called Beats and Feats team, which were organisers, which were DJs, which were dancers, which were actors, and all that type of thing. And I put on a showcase for the community. And what happened was, the young people developed their own dance. That is what community dance is about. People need to understand. And people within the community, particularly from the 1950s, it's about our free expression, because what happened, we were suppressed. African diaspora people suppressed. And not only that, people, ordinary people in communities were suppressed. So what happened was, they needed opportunity to be free-spirited in the way that they engaged in dance. And so what happened was, if you know about 50s, 60s, 70s, talk about the jazz age, it never happened in a dance school. What happened was, from the jazz age, from vernacular jazz dancing, which is American jazz dancing, people saw the dance and created these schools. Next minute, what happened, the dances got bastardized. And what I mean is, people just kept replicating the same dance. The whole idea of the dance was to develop within a community setting. It's important that people understand this. Improvisation is important to any culture. Dance is a form of communication, and it evolves. No dance actually stays the same if you have it in a social community, because it's passed, the steps are passed on from one generation to another. Climate changes, wherever people are, people migrate, people immigrate. And what happens is, the dance change. That is what's supposed to happen. What we have today, because of the dance studio, has been people have come and clinically said, this is how the dance has to be, that's the way it has to be. That's not how it has to be. And who talks about that is the tap dancer will talk about it. Not to keep the tap dance the same, because music changes. Who will do that? The bebop musicians, the jazz musicians. We're not supposed to be playing the same music the same way 24/7. They're supposed to take the music and involve it with their life experience as artists. So that's what visual artists are. They show a true reflection of the development of the art. Art can't stay the same, can it? Neither can design. And that's what happens is dance. Remember, dance is art. It is design. It is complementary arts. When you see dance, you think drama. When you see dance, you see music. When you see dance, you see poetry. When you see dance, you see literature. Community dance is art, an art form, and it's a social art form, and it has a way of evolving. And what we're in now, this moment, there's a big movement in the UK to do with community dance. People going to stage. You can't have just only the stage, because the nature of the events that I created, it wasn't just about the stage where people go and clap. It was children, parents coming to see the children, and they interacted with their children. At the events, we had dance competitions. At the events, we had dancing, music for the whole community. So kids saw their parents dance, and they saw their parents dance, and they danced with the parents. Not an event where people just go and it's one-sided, where people on stage and we've got clap, clap, clap. And what's happening, children are going off to dance school. No. It's important for people to understand. Communal dancing is all the communities involved. It's a participative event. And it's a voluntary participative event. It's important that people understand. And my work is basically the community dancer who comes with pioneers still dancing myself, keeping my art form alive. I preserve steps to give people indication, but I innovate steps also by getting the new music of what's happening in the day and innovating new steps to it. Because that's what a social dancer is supposed to do, a community dance leader is supposed to do. You don't keep the same steps, but you have an understanding of the importance of preservation, there's an importance of legacy of leadership, so people can build on the dance itself. But the most important thing, I've done like strengths, weaknesses and threats in sense of community dance today. What's happened with our community dance, African diaspora dance or ordinary people's dance, the knowledge, the dance knowledge and the dance practice is missing, so young people can't build on it who come from them communities. There's dancers who've been trained by their parents to be the next dance leaders, but they're not getting opportunities to lead. And this is one of the problems I talk about dancing communities in universities. When we've got the dance schools, people have taken over and they've become the leaders, but they're not actually, they're individuals who can show you the dance, but not the individuals know how to develop the dance because they don't know the intricacies of the authentic way, the oral tradition way, which is social, physical, intellectual, cultural, emotional, political, economic, technological, environment, legal. And people don't understand dance is political. Community dance is political. And people don't have a really understanding. Community dance, my community dance from a West Indian point of view, a West Indian immigrant, is cross-cultural, experimental. That's only what it can be from our history. It's important that people really understand that, and they don't know that. My dance form is one where it's fusion. African Caribbeans fuse. We are very much inclusive. West Indians are an inclusive race because of their history, where other races are exclusive. People really need to understand that. The reason is because of our history in the West Indies and the history of how we got spread from the West Indies, the Season Islands, to Brazil, to Europe, to Britain and America. We brought this inclusion and we brought an improvisational element because that was the only way we could survive. We improvised with different cultures. We worked alongside other cultures to learn, to think and develop in bigger, bolder, better ways. Blue K Jazz Dance talked about community dance and the importance of me being a community dance leader in my community. That's part of my legacy. And what is, I'm not just only a community dance leader, I talk about the whole context of being a community dance leader who went on to be a commercial dance leader. But I learned what I included in my commercial dance work is the authenticity, and what happens is how commercial work can be used without bastardizing a people's culture is by the nature of what you include in it. So a film called Stomping the Ground is an important stomping. There's been films on crumping and different hip-hop films, Wild Style. These films have shown a positive insight. A film called Babylon showed a positive insight into people's cultures. They were commercial films, but their commerciality didn't bastardize the culture. They actually enhanced the culture. They got the focus, they got the commercial audience that was needed. And that's what we need. We need individuals who have the authentic knowledge, the authentic way to understand what was dance. How do we use dance? We use dance as drama. We use dance as theatre. We use dance with poetry. But some people use it in an authentic way, and other people use it in a bastardized way, which does not raise the prestige, raise the profile, or dignify the art form. My work in community dance is about dignifying dance, community dance, and dignifying dance leadership from a community perspective. I'm talking about being the original ones, not going to a college. And it's important I say this, or a university, because I've worked alongside individuals that come from colleges, come from university, who don't have no understanding of the community needs. A community leader must understand the community needs, and those who are born in the community, who are the dance leaders in the community, understand what I'm saying. And other people outside understand, who have a empathetic understanding of what dance needs. What I'm making, the point I'm making is, I worked with individuals that had been trained to be community dancers They don't come from that community. They had no empathy with the community. And what happened, they made it about the art. So community art, what happened was, I worked with individuals that had been to university, been to higher education, college. They came with the art and forgot about the community. I said community comes before the art. The community needs to come from the art. You have to know how to engage them. Because what was happening, I was working alongside a few individuals. I was in a school, and individuals who'd been trained at university had no understanding of the community of disadvantaged communities, were actually disrespecting the community that they spoke about. They identified they didn't want to engage in art, this and that. They're not disciplined to work in art. So I identified, listen to me very carefully, because I'm not going to sit down as the individual who comes from a disadvantaged background and not identify some key things. You have to engage disadvantaged communities, that's one. Then you have to empower them. Then you educate them. Then you inspire them and motivate them to engage in the art that you want. You have to come with engagement, and engagement comes is a lot of research to understand the needs in the community and how community works. So sometimes what you might need in a community, there's dancers that influence communities. You bring them in to engage them in the art. Who does that? Is youth clubs, because many people didn't have an understanding of youth club. Youth clubs do things like have youth arts, which allow young people just to come and just engage in the arts. Then they did what is called youth arts work, which, for example, they wanted to educate young people on health. They brought me in as an individual to work with a health specialist. We sat down together, designed a program to engage the young people in, etc., etc., because it's about engagement. It's not about first for them to take on the knowledge that you want to do with health, because it depends how you are projecting it, what you're using, what tools. Because I'm an interdisciplinary artist, I use drama, I use dance, I use music, I use theatre, I use writing, I use visual arts. Because I'm independent interdisciplinary dancer, I can do that. And I did that because what happens is a multitude of ways to engage a person is better than one way. And it's important that people understand it's about engagement, and it comes to do with innovation. It comes to being resourceful and being very imaginative in the way that you project the art that you have. Anyway, Blue K Jazz Dance Out. Take it easy.